Hi everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So in the last video, we started with the structure of the JSON Web Token. We talked about how the last lecture and this one is applicable to any technology stack. This is the OAuth2 and OIDC we are talking about. In this lecture, we will go a little further. So this is a special, so before I go further, let me repeat one thing. The open authorization OAuth2 is an umbrella protocol that enables multiple types of applications to get security, be secure. Okay. So one of the type of applications are browser-based Angular React, UI, user interface apps, spread security, time leaf, C# UI, or you can get the idea. The other type of UI apps are mobile apps, iOS, Android. So you get the idea again. The second type of applications are machines, batch jobs, Spring Batch and ETL jobs. Those are batch, those are running on machines. So they also need to get access token. And there is another flow called client credentials. So these batch jobs are client, and they also need their access token. That is why their grant type is called client underscore credentials. And the first grant type was authorization code grant. So let's see if we are using client credentials code grant, what kind of authorization access token we will get. So you are familiar with EXP, IAT. I'm not going to repeat JTI. ISS is the issuer, audience. This token is valid for customer API. Sub, type peer authorized party, whether MFA, I don't know whether FCR is meaningful for client cred. Scope, because MFA for an application machine does not make sense. Scope is roles. So this guy will actually get the roles in the access token. Client ID, this client ID is requesting the access token, preferred username. This is so you are getting roles of an API client. Again, this is a service acting as a client, running in a machine like a Kubernetes pod and asking for an access token to access another service. Resource access, same thing like you saw earlier. This will be used to read the customer. Okay. Excuse me. Preferred username. So what Keycloak does behind the scene, it actually creates a user even for the client credential, but this is not a normal user. This is a service use. Okay. And now let's see, we will go to the ID token. ID tokens are for OIDC, and ID tokens are simpler. All these are known to you, EXP, IAT, auth time. We talked about in the last video, JTI. ISS or sub is the user ID. Type is ID token, not bearer token again. Authorized party. Nonce is a value that is shared so that it cannot be forged. And SID is another ID. At hash is used for special purposes in CR. CR means MFA was involved. Email verified true name. You are familiar with all of these, the rest. Let's go to the refresh token. Refresh token, we talked about the purpose. This is much smaller and says EXP, which is much longer than the access token. Next I believe, refresh token will be honored by the operation server if it is requested by only the Spring Security Training Web. Rest you are very, very familiar. Session state is a special one that conveys the value that the authorization server is storing in its backend. Okay. And access token expires. So this is the purpose. API calls can no longer use the old access token. Client calls token endpoint, grant type equal to refresh token. That is what we have to send. I will send you a call, whale call in a minute. Keycloak validates the refresh token, session client, lifetime, and revocation. All of these new tokens return. So if you look at Postman, this is the Keycloak token endpoint, content type is the body exW of the form URL encoding. And then grant type, refresh token, client ID, and refresh token is the actual refresh token. Then you get correct use, send only to Keycloak token endpoint. store in a protected server-side authorized client repository, use TLS for every token request, revoke or invalidate after suspected compromise, right? And do not send it to API customers, do not log its value, do not place in URL, do not expose to heavily for page or JavaScript. Okay. Now, understanding the audience claim or claim identifies the intended recipient or recipients of a token. If you look at these old customer API account, what it means, the API accepts the token because its own audience identifier is present. That is the server API. Resource server role, a resource server should reject an access token when the API expecting audience is not present in the UD claim. So this resource server, if it contains customer API, it will accept. If CI contains another API, it is going to reject. Okay. Let's see, ID token audience. In this case, this indicates that the ID token was issued by the OIDC web client. For the OIDC web client, it is one reason the ID token should not be presented to customer API. Okay. And audience, what it means, that indicates the access token is intended for the customer API. Keycloak may require an audience protocol mapper or client scope to add the expect API audience. So this is a special use case. You don't really need to worry about this. Let's see. So this is a complete list. I believe all of which I talked about in the last video, and in this video, you can, if you need a reference, you can see the claim. This is a nice table, the name and the meaning and validations are used. I'm not going to repeat it, and you can keep going. Which token goes here? This is also a nice table. Primary purpose API authorization, ID token, user authentication, and request token obtain replacement tokens. This is a nice summarization. You can take a look when you run and use it for reference. How the application process token claims. So this is something I would like to tell in the next video. This is already 8 minutes. So I will take a leave. If you like, please subscribe, please share, and please like the video. Please press the icon so that you keep getting notifications from me when I upload new videos. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.